Tokyo, Japan. Budokan Arena. September 14th, 1972. Saturday evening, 8:30 p.m. 15,000 Japanese wrestling fans pack the legendary venue. Antonio Inoki, Japan's wrestling icon, 6 feet 3 inches tall, 240 pounds of power and pride, stands backstage after destroying his opponent in under 5 minutes. The strongest wrestler in Japan, the man who represents Japanese fighting spirit. Tonight, Bruce Lee has been invited as a special guest to observe Japanese professional wrestling. 5 feet 8 inches tall, 145 pounds, the martial arts master creating waves across Asia. Inoki sees him. Inoki approaches. Inoki grabs Bruce's arm firmly. Martial arts are fake, little man. Just movie tricks. 7 seconds later, everything changed. It began 2 months earlier with a letter from Japan. Bruce Lee was in Hong Kong preparing for his next film project. The letter arrived at his training facility, forwarded through official channels. It was an invitation from the Japanese Wrestling Association. They were hosting a major event at the Budokan Arena in Tokyo. Antonio Inoki, Japan's biggest wrestling star, would be defending his championship. The organizers wanted Bruce Lee to attend as a special guest, to observe Japanese professional wrestling, to experience the power and spectacle that had captivated millions across Asia. Bruce read the invitation carefully. He understood professional wrestling was entertainment, choreographed matches designed for audiences. But he also knew that Japanese wrestling, particularly under Antonio Inoki, was different from American wrestling. It was stiffer, more realistic, with legitimate martial arts techniques incorporated into the performances. Inoki himself had trained in judo and catch wrestling before entering professional wrestling. He was not just an entertainer. He was a legitimate fighter who happened to work in a scripted industry. Bruce accepted the invitation. Not because he cared about wrestling particularly, but because he was curious about Inoki. He had heard stories about this wrestler who claimed to blend real martial arts with professional wrestling. He wanted to see for himself what that actually meant. The weeks passed quickly. Bruce finished his filming commitments in Hong Kong. He flew to Tokyo 3 days before the event. The Japanese Wrestling Association arranged his accommodations, a traditional hotel near the Budokan. Meanwhile, Antonio Inoki heard about Bruce Lee's planned attendance. The wrestler was not pleased. Inoki had built his career on being the toughest man in Japanese wrestling. He had fought shoot matches, legitimate contests against judokas and karateka. He had proven his skills were real, not just performance. And now the Wrestling Association was bringing in a movie star martial artist as a special guest. Inoki saw it as disrespectful. Bruce Lee was famous, yes. Bruce Lee was skilled, certainly. But Bruce Lee was an actor. He performed choreographed fights for cameras. He had never competed in legitimate sporting contests. He had never tested himself in front of thousands of live spectators. What had Bruce Lee actually proven in real combat? Inoki voiced his concerns to the Wrestling Association chairman. Why are we honoring this actor? This is a wrestling event, not a movie premiere. Bruce Lee brings attention, the chairman explained patiently. He is famous throughout Asia. His presence brings media coverage, sells more tickets. This helps everyone, including you. But Inoki remained unconvinced. He had spent years proving that wrestling could be legitimate, that wrestlers could compete against martial artists and win. The idea of celebrating a movie star at his event felt like a betrayal of everything he had worked to establish. The night before the event, there was a press conference. Bruce Lee attended, answering questions from Japanese reporters about his films, his philosophy, his martial arts training. Antonio Inoki sat in the back of the room, arms crossed, watching. One reporter asked Bruce about the difference between movie fighting and real fighting. Bruce answered honestly, Movie fighting is choreography. It is designed to look impressive on camera. Real fighting is different. It is about efficiency, survival, ending confrontation as quickly as possible. They are two separate skills. Some people excel at one, some at the other, some at both. Another reporter asked if Bruce had ever watched professional wrestling. "I have seen some matches," Bruce responded. "I respect the athleticism and showmanship. It requires tremendous physical conditioning and performance ability. But it is not the same as martial arts combat. It is entertainment, which is valuable but different." Inoki stood up abruptly. The room fell silent. Everyone turned to look at the massive wrestler. "You say wrestling is just entertainment," Inoki said in Japanese, which was quickly translated. "But I have fought real matches. Against judokas, against karateka, against shooters. I have proven wrestling techniques work in real combat." "What have you proven, Mr. Lee? That you can perform for cameras?" Bruce remained calm, making eye contact with Inoki. "I have proven nothing to the public. You are correct. My training is private. My testing is private. I do not need to prove anything to anyone except myself." Inoki smirked. "Convenient. You claim skill, but never test it publicly. At least wrestlers compete in front of audiences. We prove ourselves every night." Bruce nodded slowly. "You are right. You do prove yourself publicly. That requires courage. But proving yourself in a scripted environment with rules and safety measures is different from proving yourself in chaotic, unpredictable confrontation. Both require skill, but they are different skills." The press conference ended with obvious tension between the two men. Japanese newspapers ran headlines the next morning about the brewing conflict between the wrestling champion and the martial arts movie star. The Wrestling Association was thrilled. Controversy meant attention. Attention meant ticket sales. The event was now completely sold out. Bruce spent the morning of the event training in his hotel room, his usual routine: stretching, meditation, shadow boxing, focused breathing. He was not preparing for confrontation. He was simply maintaining his practice, as he did every day regardless of circumstances. Antonio Inoki spent the morning at the Budokan, preparing for his match. His training partners noticed he was more aggressive than usual, hitting harder, moving faster. The tension from the press conference had not dissipated. If anything, it had intensified. Evening arrived. The Budokan arena filled with 15,000 spectators. The atmosphere was electric. Preliminary matches proceeded as scheduled. The crowd responded enthusiastically to each bout, but everyone was waiting for the main event, Antonio Inoki versus his challenger for the championship, and everyone knew Bruce Lee would be watching from backstage. Bruce arrived through a private entrance 2 hours before the main event. He was escorted to a special viewing area backstage where he could observe without becoming part of the spectacle. The Wrestling Association had promised him privacy, so no photographs, no interviews, just observation. But promises made by promoters are not always kept, especially when controversy creates opportunity. Now the main event began. Inoki entered to massive applause. He looked invincible, powerful, completely in his element. The match lasted 12 minutes. Inoki dominated completely. His opponent had no chance. The finish was decisive, brutal, designed to prove Inoki's superiority. The crowd erupted as Inoki raised his championship belt. He was the undisputed king of Japanese wrestling. And then someone backstage made a decision. Someone pointed out to Inoki where Bruce Lee was standing. Someone suggested that now would be the perfect time to continue yesterday's conversation. Someone wanted confrontation. Someone wanted a moment that would make headlines. Inoki, still pumped with adrenaline from his victory, still irritated by yesterday's exchange, made his choice. He walked directly toward Bruce Lee. The backstage area grew quiet. Everyone sensed what was about to happen. Inoki walks toward Bruce with the confident stride of a man who has just proven his dominance. His championship belt slung over his shoulder, sweat still dripping from his face, his massive frame seeming even larger in the confined backstage space. Bruce stands calmly, watching Inoki approach. No fear, no aggression, just quiet observation. Inoki stops directly in front of Bruce, close enough that the height difference is dramatic. The wrestler towers over the martial artist. "So, movie star," Inoki begins in Japanese, loud enough for everyone backstage to hear. His trainer quickly translates to English. "You just watched real fighting. Wrestling is not fake entertainment like you said yesterday. That was real combat, real technique, real victory." Bruce nods respectfully. "You are very skilled. Your strength and conditioning are impressive. You dominated your opponent completely." Inoki is not satisfied with the compliment. "But you still think martial arts are superior to wrestling, yes? You still think your movie kung fu is more real than what I do?" Bruce shakes his head slightly. "I never said superior. I said different. Wrestling is one approach to combat. Martial arts is another approach. Both have value. Both require dedication." Inoki reaches out suddenly and grabs Bruce's arm. Not violently, but firmly. Demonstrably. Just like Bruno Sammartino did in New York. His huge hand completely encircles Bruce's bicep. "Look at this," Inoki announces to the gathering crowd of wrestlers and staff. "My forearm is bigger than his whole arm. You are too small for real fighting. Martial arts are fake. Just movie tricks for entertainment." The backstage area is completely silent now. Everyone watching. Everyone waiting to see how Bruce will respond. Bruce looks down at Inoki's hand gripping his arm. Then he looks up at Inoki's face. His expression remains calm, but his eyes have changed. Something has shifted. "You believe size is everything," Bruce says quietly. "You believe your strength makes you invincible. Would you like to test that belief?" Inoki releases Bruce's arm, his confidence absolute. "Test it how? You want to wrestle me? I weigh 240 pounds. I am a professional champion. What can you possibly do against that?" Bruce gestures to the empty space nearby. "Not wrestling, not a match, just a simple demonstration. 7 seconds. Oh, that is all I need. If you can defend yourself against me for 7 full seconds, I will publicly apologize. I will admit that wrestling is superior to martial arts. I will say it on camera, in front of everyone." Inoki laughs. 7 seconds? You only need 7 seconds. To do what? Show me your movie kicks? Bruce remains completely serious. 7 seconds to show you why size is not the only factor in combat. 7 seconds to demonstrate what you do not understand about fighting. The challenge hangs in the air. Inoki looks around at his fellow wrestlers, at the staff, at the crowd of observers. His pride will not let him back down. Not in his own arena. Not after his championship victory. Not in front of his people. "Fine," Inoki says. 7 seconds. Show me your martial arts magic. When nothing happens, you apologize. I publicly." The crowd forms a circle, giving them space. Someone starts counting down. 3, 2, 1, go. Inoki sets his stance immediately. Wide wrestling base, weight distributed, hands ready to grab or defend. He is not taking this lightly despite his confident words. He knows Bruce's reputation. He is prepared for fast kicks, for fancy techniques. Bruce does not move into any traditional martial arts stance. He simply stands naturally, weight balanced, completely relaxed. 1 second passes. Inoki begins to circle, looking for an opening to grab. If he can get his hands on Bruce, use his weight advantage. This ends immediately. 2 seconds. Bruce shifts slightly, staying just outside Inoki's reach, not backing away dramatically, just maintaining distance with minimal movement. 3 seconds. Inoki feints a grab, eye-testing Bruce's reactions. Bruce does not react to the feint. He simply observes. 4 seconds. Inoki commits to a real grab, lunging forward with his superior reach, and Bruce is not there. Bruce has moved, not with elaborate footwork, but with precise timing. He has flowed around Inoki's reaching arms like water around a rock. 5 seconds. Inoki spins, trying to track Bruce's movement, but Bruce has already positioned himself at an angle Inoki did not anticipate. Inoki's blind spot. 6 seconds. Bruce moves forward, not with a flashy kick or spinning technique. He simply steps in and touches 2 points on Inoki's body simultaneously, one hand pressing lightly against Inoki's temple, the other hand positioned at Inoki's throat. Not striking, not grabbing, just touching. 7 seconds, someone announces. Bruce immediately steps back, i.e. hands dropping to his sides. The entire demonstration has lasted exactly 7 seconds, and Inoki understands immediately what just happened. Those 2 touch points were not random. The temple is a knockout point. The throat is a collapse point. If Bruce had applied force instead of simply touching, Inoki would be unconscious or choking on the ground. The wrestler's face shows confusion, then understanding, then something like respect mixed with frustration. You did not even strike, Inoki says. You just touched me. Bruce nods. Because this is a demonstration, not a real fight. I showed you the openings in your defense, the vulnerabilities in your structure. In a real confrontation, those touches would be strikes. And your size would not have protected you. Inoki touches his own temple, his own throat, so feeling where Bruce's hands had been. I did not even see you move into position. One moment you were in front of me, the next moment you were beside me. How? Bruce's expression softens slightly. You are trained to see large movements, telegraphed attacks, wrestling grabs. Your sport requires those movements because they are visible to audiences. But real combat is not about visible movements. It is about invisible timing. I did not move around you. I moved with you. I used your own momentum, your own commitment to the grab, to create the opening. Inoki looks around at the other wrestlers watching. His pride is wounded, but his intellect is engaged. He has just experienced something that contradicts everything he thought he knew about fighting. This is not fake, Inoki admits quietly. What you did, it was real. I felt it. You could have hurt me badly if you wanted to. Bruce nods once. Just as you could hurt me badly if you grabbed me with your full strength. We both have legitimate skills. Different skills, but legitimate. The question is not which is superior. The question is whether we can respect what each of us has mastered. The backstage area remains silent for a long moment. Antonio Inoki stands there, still processing what just happened in those 7 seconds. His hand unconsciously touches his temple again, then his throat. The points where Bruce's fingers had rested with such precise, controlled pressure. Bruce waits patiently, giving the wrestler time to absorb the experience. Around them, the other wrestlers and staff exchange glances but say nothing. This is Inoki's moment to choose how to respond. Finally, Inoki speaks. I need to understand what you did. Explain it to me. His voice has changed. The arrogance is gone. The defensiveness is gone. What remains is genuine curiosity, the desire of one martial practitioner to learn from another. Bruce gestures to a quieter area away from the crowd. Let us talk privately. This is not entertainment for others. Inoki nods and follows. They move to a small training room adjacent to the main backstage area. Just the two of them. No translators initially, though Inoki's English is functional enough for basic communication. Bruce begins. In professional wrestling, you train to execute specific sequences. Moves that look impressive. Moves that tell a story to the audience. This requires tremendous athleticism, timing with your opponent, showmanship. But it also creates patterns. Habitual movements that become predictable to someone looking for them. Inoki listens intently. When you grabbed for me, your shoulders dropped slightly first. Your weight shifted forward. your eyes focused on my arm. These are tiny movements, maybe lasting 1/10 of a second. But they telegraph your intention to anyone trained to read them. Bruce demonstrates in slow motion, showing the shoulder drop, the weight shift, the eye focus. In wrestling, these signals do not matter because your opponent is cooperating with the sequence. In real combat, these signals create the opportunity for counterattack. Inoki nods slowly, beginning to understand. So you saw my intention before I moved and you positioned yourself accordingly. Yes, Bruce confirms, but there is more. Your stance is very strong for wrestling. Wide base, low center of gravity, difficult to take down. But that stance also limits your mobility in certain directions. You can move forward and backward powerfully. You can resist pressure from the front. But lateral movement, especially quick changes of angle, are slower from that position. Bruce demonstrates the wrestling stance, then shows how it restricts rapid angle changes. So, I did not try to go through your strength. I went around it. I used angles your stance is not optimized to defend. Inoki stands and tries the movements himself, feeling the limitations Bruce described. I never noticed this before. In wrestling, we do not fight opponents who move like you. We grapple, we grab, we use power and leverage. But we do not face striking from unexpected angles. Bruce nods. Because wrestling has rules. No strikes to certain targets, no attacks from behind, no techniques designed to cause permanent injury. These rules are good. They allow competition without unnecessary damage. But they also mean you train for a specific type of confrontation. Martial arts, especially the combat-focused systems, train for confrontation without rules. Where any target is valid, any angle is possible, any technique is allowed. Inoki sits on a training bench absorbing this information. So, when I said martial arts are fake, I was wrong. But when you said wrestling is just entertainment, you were also somewhat wrong. Bruce smiles slightly. Yes, I was incomplete in my understanding as well. I saw the choreography, the performance aspect, and dismissed the legitimate skills underneath. Your strength is real. Your conditioning is real, and your pain tolerance is real. The techniques you use, the throws, the locks, the submissions, these are all legitimate martial techniques. The only thing that is choreographed is the outcome, but the skills required to execute those techniques safely at full speed with a partner, that requires mastery. Inoki looks up. So we were both right and both wrong. Yes, Bruce agrees. This is why I do not like debates about which martial art is superior. Every system has strengths. Every system has limitations. The practitioner who succeeds is not the one who found the perfect system. It is the one who understands his system's strengths and his opponent's weaknesses. They sit in silence for a moment. Then Inoki asks the question that has been building. Could you teach me? Not to become a martial artist. I am a wrestler. That is my identity. But could you teach me to see these things you see? To understand timing and angles the way you do? Bruce considers carefully. I could share principles. Show you concepts that might enhance your wrestling. Teach you to read intention before movement. Show you angles that create openings. Help you understand efficiency of motion, conservation of energy, precision of targeting. You would remain a wrestler. That is your art, your profession, your life's work. But you would become a more complete wrestler, one who understands combat beyond the wrestling ring. Inoki extends his hand, not as a challenge this time, not as a show of dominance, but as a genuine gesture of respect and request for knowledge. Bruce shakes it firmly. I apologize for grabbing your arm in front of everyone, Inoki says. I was protecting my pride, my reputation, but I was also ignorant. You showed me my ignorance in 7 seconds without humiliating me publicly. You could have struck me. You could have knocked me down in front of my peers. But you chose to educate instead of dominate. That shows true mastery. Bruce nods acceptance. You are a champion. You have earned your status through years of dedication and sacrifice. I have no interest in diminishing what you built. I only wanted to show you that the world of combat is larger than any single system. They spend the next hour together. Bruce demonstrating concepts, Inoki asking questions, trying movements, feeling the differences in approach. By the time they emerge from the training room, both men have changed. Inoki returns to his fellow wrestlers with new perspective. Bruce prepares to leave Tokyo with renewed respect for the dedication of professional wrestlers. The next day, Japanese newspapers run a very different story than they expected. Not a conflict between wrestling and martial arts, but a meeting of mutual respect between two masters from different disciplines. Inoki gives an interview where he states clearly, Bruce Lee is not a fake martial artist. His skills are real. I experienced them myself. Bruce, before leaving Japan, tells reporters, Antonio Inoki is not just an entertainer. He is a legitimate fighter who performs. There is a difference, and it deserves respect. The confrontation that could have become a public disaster instead became a moment of growth. Two prideful men chose understanding over ego. Two different systems found common ground. And everyone who witnessed it learned that true strength comes not from proving superiority, but from recognizing that mastery takes many forms. If you enjoyed this story of respect between two legends, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more untold Bruce Lee encounters. Share this with someone who needs to understand that real strength respects all forms of mastery. Comment below. Which fighter should Bruce Lee meet next? Thanks for watching.